In this video, I'll show you which perks and skills to use for every class now that the servers have been wiped, so you can be that OP PvP player running around with epic gear while everyone else only has grey loot. Let's get into it. I think Fighter is the strongest starter class, and here's why. It can basically do everything. It can kind of tank, it can do lots of damage, it can be mobile, it can be quick. The best starter perk to go with, I think, in my opinion, is Swift. You can use Weapon Mastery. A lot of people would probably recommend Weapon Mastery. Barricade is a good one. Combo Attack is another really good one. And Counter Attack. Those are all really, really good ones. Also Dual Wield if you like to dual wield. But myself, I just like to use the Arming Sword and the shield. I only use the shield for PvP because it seems to be really good at like blocking people's attacks, whereas the hitboxes on PvE attacks I've noticed are a little bit wonky. Sometimes the goblins hit you when they shouldn't. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I definitely recommend starting off with Swift just so you get that additional movement speed. You want to be quicker than people because you can take so much damage. You want to make sure that you can get around people. Obviously, for your E, you want Second Wind, hands down. Second Wind is one of the best perks in the game. You get 50% of your HP over 12 seconds. That is absolutely crucial, especially when you're in PvP fights. To get that extra health back mid-fight is just amazing. So yeah, definitely recommend Second Wind. In fact, if you're not running Second Wind on a fighter, that is a big no-no. And I like to use Sprint because I think Sprint is the easiest way to not only get out of a fight, but also to get into a fight. If I see a wizard, for example, or a ranger, what I try and do is hide around a corner, press Q, which is sprint, and then sprint up on them so they don't have enough time to like cast their spells or to hit me with ranged attacks. I'm already up in their face, dealing melee damage, and they can't do anything. And they just die within 2 or 3 hits. So this is definitely the best starter build for the fighter. As you can see, I'm already level 4. I've been getting a bunch of dubs today throughout the wipe already. I think I got 4 back-to-back wins, which was really fun. Cleric is one of my favorite classes. I really like Cleric and I really like Fighter. I think they're very, very good starter classes. Just when you're like learning to figure out the distancing of swords and spears and pretty much everything in the game, I just feel like these 2 starter classes are fantastic for beginners. Off rip, you want to be running Blunt Weapon Mastery. It is the best perk for the Cleric. Cleric needs to do as much damage as possible, especially in solos. It's all good that you can heal yourself, but if you can't do any damage, you're absolutely dead in the water. You're absolutely dead in the water. So you need to be running Blunt Weapon Mastery. You could use Advanced Healer, which is also a good idea because it gives you more healing. Or you could use Kindness if you're running in squads. This video is specifically for talking about solos, so Advanced Healer could be used, but ideally you want to be using Blunt Weapon Mastery. Obviously you want to be using Judgment always. Judgment is like the best Q you could definitely get at all. Deals 25 magic damage to a target, reduce their movement speed for 20% for 2 seconds, which is so good. So good. The thing that sucks about it is you do have to be within 5 meters. You have to be very close, so you can risk getting hit. But usually you're using this on people at the beginning of a PvP fight. You just do that initial 25 magic damage and then you want to be hitting them. When you're doing solos on a cleric, you want to make sure you're buffed when you're fighting people. Make sure you put on those spells, which is a nice segue into the spells that we're going to be looking at. Obviously you want to be running a spell. There is a battle mage, which could be good to start with. They call this a battle mage. You don't have any spells, but what you do is you smite people with the 10 magic damage and then you hit them with the 25 magic damage immediately. And so you've already done 35 magic damage off rip, and then you should just be able to clean them up before they even touch you. However, I don't really recommend that build. I've tried it out. Didn't really work for me. I think the best thing about the cleric is that they can heal themselves and other people. For the spells, obviously you can only have a maximum of 12 out of 12. Now what I recommend is going with the lesser heal, which gives you that classic cleric heal. Bless, which grants the target 3 strength, agility, and will for 30 seconds. So this is a solos guide, so you want to cast that on yourself, then quickly cast a protection spell, which creates that shield for 20 seconds. And then also you cast Divine Strike straight afterwards, which grants the target additional 5 weapon damage. So basically you've got an extra 3 on your strength, agility, and will. You're taking 20 incoming damage away, and you're also getting a 5 additional weapon damage for 20 seconds. So that's what you want to do. You want to open up with like a Holy Strike, boom, deal that 15 damage, bless yourself protect yourself, and then divine strike in that order. That's what I would recommend. And then obviously you've just got those heals to heal yourself. You could swap some of these out for like sanctuary or something like that, but I mean, that's totally up to you. This is just what I recommend. I think this is such a good build because you can buff yourself, you can heal yourself, you can also do damage. It's very, very good. Now for everyone's favorite, the wizard. Wizards are very, very, very OP in the right hands, but if you don't know what you're doing, wizards can be really tough. I recommend using Mana Surge to start off with because you need that extra damage, especially when you're a level 1 wizard. You really don't do much damage at all. So you need to be making sure you're doing as much damage as possible, not only to the PvE, but to PvP as well, because you have so much range. You don't want to be having to cast like 5 fireballs to kill somebody. By that time, they've already gotten up to you and they've slashed you to bits. So you need to be doing as much damage as possible. So increasing your damage bonus by 10% is absolutely ideal for your starter perk. Obviously, you want to use meditation because that's how you get your spells back. Not getting your spells back is not pog. Definitely want those spells back, so this is what I recommend for sure. And obviously spell memory. Let's have a quick look at what spells I recommend. There's 2 ways you can go about the spells, right? I recommend either going magic missile, and I use that specifically for PvE. Invis and haste are absolutely necessary on any wizard build. Zap is another really good one. It's not super strong, but it works really well. Obviously, the classic fireball is fantastic because of the splash damage and the direct damage to the target. Now, there's a few different ways you can do this. You can run zap like I am. You can run lightning strike instead, which is very good, but you need to make sure that you know how that spell works, because if the target isn't going to run through the lightning, you've literally just wasted your spell. So you got to make sure that you know what you're doing with this one. And also you can run it as ignite. So if you want to be a wizard that either buffs your teammates, so you can buff their weapons so they have like additional magic damage and burning enemies when they hit them, or if you're a wizard that uses a dagger yourself, you can also ignite yourself and use it like that. Now I dabble in all 3, but my favorite is by far the zap build. I just really like the zap. I find the lightning can be a little bit tough to like figure out, especially if you're fighting somebody and they hear you casting the lightning, they just walk the opposite way as what they were walking. That's what I do every time I go up against one of those wizards and I can see they're casting lightning. I just walk backwards and I know they're going to completely miss me because they were expecting me to walk in a certain direction. Now, when it comes to rogue, the best thing I think is double jump, because double jump just makes you so mobile, gets you into so many areas that other classes just cannot get to. And it's really, really good. So I recommend using double jump. You can use something different if you want to be more offensive. Absolutely. If you want to do back attack, so you can just like quickly hide and then stab people in the back 3 or 4 times. That's totally cool. I wouldn't recommend dagger mastery because your daggers at this level aren't really doing much damage anyway. Poison weapons are always a really fun one to use. I like poison weapon a lot. Jokester, if you're running with other people as well, is really good, but this is the ideal setup for level 1 is you want to go double jump. You want to go rupture as well, so you can put that on your throwing knives and you can just throw those at people so they're already getting that damage over the 5 seconds, that bleed damage. And obviously you want to use hide. However, there is a very good build where you go rupture and weak point attack, and maybe instead of double jump, you would do like poison weapon or back attack or something. And basically what happens is if you use these 2 together, the next hit is going to do a massive amount of damage, because weak point attack, basically when the next attack succeeds, it deals 50% additional weapon damage to that target. The hit is successful, the target's armor rating is reduced by 40% for 5 seconds. So that is, weak point attack is phenomenal, but you need to make sure that the next attack does a lot of damage as well. So you just got to figure out what works out best for you. I recommend using hide, just because I think hide is really good to get away from enemies. Really, really good to get away from PvP and PvE enemies. If you get a bit stuck, you can just hide and everything de-aggros and you're all Gucci. Now it's time for the devs' favorite class, the Ranger. I don't know why, but they keep buffing the heck out of Ranger at the moment. I don't know what is going on, but Rangers do so much damage as it is. I don't know why they keep getting buffed. But anyway, I think hands down the best perk is Sharpshooter. I did used to think Nimble Hands was really good, but definitely you want to do as much damage as possible, especially with all these extra buffs that they've given Rangers recently. So Sharpshooter doing 15% extra damage when attacking with a long range weapon is absolutely amazing. Obviously headshots only, but that's what you're aiming for anyway, headshots. If you're using a ranger, I would expect you're trying to get as many headshots anyway. You obviously want to use quick shot as well. Quick shot and field ration are the two best skills that you can get as a ranger, in my opinion, and most people's opinion, I would say. The extra 25 HP is absolutely ridiculous. You can get 3 lots of 25 HP is crazy as a ranger, especially with how slow they are and how much damage they can do. And also quick shot is amazing because you do 3 quick fire rapid shots that do all the same amount of damage. It's not like Hanzo in Overwatch where you do those quick attacks but they don't do as much damage. No, those are fully damaging attacks. So if you hit 3 headshots one after the other, that's probably a kill. So yeah, this is definitely what I would recommend. There's nothing else that I would really recommend to start with. Like I said, you could use Nimble Hands, but I definitely recommend Sharpshooter, and then Nimble Hands would be next after that for me. Now for our musical friend, the Bard. So there's 2 things you can use with this. You either want to go with Rapier Mastery, which gives you weapon damage increased by 3 and action speed increased by 5%. Obviously, if you're expecting to get into PvP, which I'm assuming we all are if we're going in and playing this game, then that is usually a really good thing to start off with. Although Lore Mastery is also really good. A high level of understanding increases interaction speed of all types by 25%, which is really good. And then also you've got the Wanderer's Luck, which increases the chance of finding high quality items. So those would be the 3 that I would look at for the Bard. Bard's really cool. I would recommend those 3. And for the music, you want to double up on the music. In my opinion, I think that's the best thing to do. And you want to use Din of Darkness, which does magical damage to all enemies in the area. Peacemaking, which just stops everything from fighting for a little while. Chaotic Discord, which excites nearby monsters to attack the nearest target that isn't you. I have no idea how to say this song, but it grants 15% to action speed for 30 seconds. 60 or 120. Tranquility, which gradually restores your recoverable health. Lament of Languor, I think that's how you say it. I have no idea. Reduces the movement speed of all enemies. Unchained Harmony, which opens all nearby doors containers, including locked or unlocked. Piercing Shrill, which does physical damage to the targets. Song of Shadow, which turns you invisible. And then Ballad of Courage, which grants 10 physical power bonus for 30, 60, or 120 seconds and doesn't stack. So that's what I would recommend. I mean, each Bard has their own thing that they want to run, but for solos, this is what I would recommend. Now for the Warlock, we're going to be using Torture Mastery to start off with, which Curse of Pain inflicted upon enemies restores 1 health to the caster with each instance of damage dealt, which is just perfect for what we're doing starting off at level 1. We want to use Phantomize as well because it's such a good way to get away from danger and avoid certain things that you're trying to get away from. Obviously, if you guys play Warlock, you know how good Phantomize is. And for our spells, obviously we're just going with the standard ones: Power of Sacrifice, Curse of Weakness, Curse of Pain, Hellfire. Not much else we can do there. Yeah, Warlock is sort of a bit of a self-explanatory one, this one. Now there are 2 barbarian perks that I swear by. It's Two-Hander, which increases physical attack power by 5% when attacking with a 2-handed weapon, and obviously that's what you start with, the 2-handed weapon. Or Executioner, which increases headshot damage with axes by 10%. Now, you can go with either of these. I would recommend going with the Two-Hander, but you can go with the Executioner as well. It's really up to you. Now, for my skills, I use Rage because it increases strength by 15 and movement by 15%, while defense is reduced by 20% for 8 seconds, which is just absolutely amazing. It gives you more attack power, some extra health, and some move speed bonus at the cost of a bit of defense. So it's high risk, high reward, but you're playing as a barbarian. It's high risk, high reward anyway. And for my second perk, I go with Reckless Attack, as the next hit ignores 75% of your enemy's defense. Now, usually that doesn't really matter if they're wearing stacked gear, but right now this is the perfect time to use Reckless Attack. You can also use Achilles Strike, which slows them down for a little bit, but I would recommend going with Reckless Attack and with Rage, as those are the 2 best things that will do the most amount of damage possible at these lower ranks. Now, thank you so much for checking this out. I'm live on Twitch right now. Come check me out, JacksonGames_. I come out with a lot of videos like this, so please make sure you like and subscribe. And if you're looking for more Dark and Darker content, click this next video to find all the funniest moments in Dark and Darker, and I'll see you in there.